Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
I am Conor McGregor, multiple weight MMA champion. I'm a fighter and I've been through many battles in the octagon. Many consider my fights in the octagon heroic, but the real life heroes are those men and women who fight to protect us every day. The real life fighters, the real life heroes are the firefighters and police officers. These first responders are true heroes because these brave men and women put themselves in the line of danger every single day protecting us all. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation ensures that first responders from fire, EMS and police departments who are killed in the line of duty with young children have a home without the burden of a mortgage. They are my heroes. They need our help today. I'd like to ask you to join me in donating $11 a month to support their efforts. Your $11 a month honours and supports our first responders. Please call now at 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis.
And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop up!
Stop paying for shave tech you don't need.
And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors. We're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, I drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
I take a breath, I'm not gonna lose. This is what I came here to do.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host. Favorite.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is?
Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody?
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Otherwise known as Chat Lives Matter Night, right here live on KLRNRadio.com. This is normally when you would hear the conservative curmudgeon. Unfortunately, he is on hiatus, and lately Andrew and I had been talking about bringing his show back from the basement to fill in the time slot, but he is in Serapean. He's in the Serapean Union now, so he's working, so he can't be here. So since I didn't do a Rails on Sunday because I was feeling like meh, we're doing one now. Don't forget, later tonight, we do still have Foo Bar coming up next, and Ordy and I will be your nightcap for the Rick and Ordy Show. And if you missed it, where were you? We actually had a great episode of whatever just a little bit ago. Stacy was off this evening. However, we did have Jeff Reynolds, an investigative reporter with a group who basically has taken apart, put everything back together, made it easy for you to understand exactly what's going on with the Hamasnik groups right here in America. So if you are so inclined, and you can, if you're not in the chat yet, if you hop in there here in a minute, I may actually drop the links again, but that's not really what we're going to be talking about tonight, because we have so many other things that we should be talking about. So because we did get a late start, we'll be going commercial free because I don't want to push anything else later in the evening. So I do want to give a quick shout out for those of you that are just starting to tune in and you're seeing my name all over the place and you're checking out the website, and I got a hand in almost all of it. Plus I write for about 3 or 4 different places. So if you're wanting to know part of how I do all of that, it's because I have this little thing called an addiction to caffeine. So anyway, you can actually, if you are so inclined, you can check out something that I've been using now for a while, because it curbs my energy drink habit without costing me as much of a fortune. I do spend more money on them than I should, to be honest. But it's a little thing called Dubby Energy. You can go check them out at dubby.gg. They have energy drinks in powder form. They also have cans now. If you are more into, staying hydrated, they also have hydration formulas, so you can check those out. So if you are so inclined, you are welcome to go check them out again at dubby.gg. If you decide to get anything, make sure when it asks for a promo code or discount code in there on the website that you throw in Rowdy Rick. You'll get an additional 10% off. So make sure you go check them out. All right, so that's going to be the extent of our commercial work for today, because we only have about 45 minutes left. I'm still working on a lot of things behind the scenes. So want to say hello to everybody that looks like is joining us through X, everybody hanging out in the chat room. I see you there, Zelda, using the chat feature. So hi. Anyway, so we're here, we're live, and we have tons of things to talk about. So part of what we're going to be talking about tonight is, I just want to say this to our friends in the media. Because all the folks in the media seem to think that we have to show altered footage of Joe Biden to show him in a less than favorable light. I don't know about you guys, but everywhere that I'm seeing these things that they're saying are deceptively edited, etc., or as Sideshow Bob, otherwise known as Corinne Jean-Pierre, or the other name that I have for her is Corinne Jean-Air. Because if you've ever listened to her give a press briefing, it's pretty cringy. Wait, did I say that out loud? I probably shouldn't have said that out loud. But anyway, also, bit of explanation for those of you who are like, why is he wearing that shirt? Because it's got the rebel flag on it. So this is me keeping my word to a friend of mine who actually was a sponsor of this show way, 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 way back in the day. Because I promised him that if he sent us all shirts, that if we ever did video, his shirt would be worn on the first video cast that I ever did. So I know everybody doesn't like the rebel flag anymore. Suck it. It's a flag. For those of you freaking out about the flag, I would like to remind you that most of you guys are the same ones that get mad when people use the wrong pronouns. It's just a pronoun. Get over it. If you don't like it, I don't really care. But anyway, yeah, Rebel Road Tactical, unfortunately, they are now a defunct company. But the friend of mine who used to run it, who now has another business, actually still listens to the show from time to time and watches. So I'm hoping at some point he actually sees that, even though it was much, much later than I ever intended, I did actually keep my word. So anyway, we're here, we're live. I hope everybody is having a great Wednesday night. And again, it's just a flag, so suck it. But so as far as everything else, we don't need to deceptively edit anything to to show people that Biden doesn't know where he is most of the time or what he's doing most of the time, unless it involves sniffing children or ice cream. Those two things he is constantly zeroed in on, and he's well aware of where he is and what he's doing when he's doing those two things. But we don't need to deceptively edit video, and let me explain to you why MSNBC, CNN, and all the rest of you leftist media loons. It's because a special prosecutor who was reviewing him having classified documents in his possession since he was a senator. I would like to remind everyone that a senator has no declassification powers at all. So the fact that he left a skiff with secure documents is a crime. But they couldn't press charges because, well, they didn't see the need to press charges because he's an affable old man who would garner sympathy from the jury, and they didn't think they would be able to get a conviction. The problem is that's not your decision to make. Once you determine that charges should be filed, then you're supposed to file the charges. You let the judge figure out whether or not there's enough there to move forward. If there's enough there for you to file charges, then you do take it to a grand jury, whatever else you need to do to make it work, and then you go from there. But it's not your decision to decline to press charges or not. Now, I get it. DAs do that all the time. I understand, and that's the argument that everybody makes with me as well. They're basically like the DA for the entire, the top DA for the entire country, so they can't elect whether or not they should file charges or not. And I disagree. I even disagree when DAs decline to file charges, because once you have determined a crime has been committed and you know that it has been committed and you believe you have the suspect who has done it in your care and custody, the next step in that process is they have earned the right to a fair and speedy trial. It is not up to you to say, well, we're not going to press those charges. I'm sorry, as somebody that has done this kind of work before, I disagree with this wholeheartedly. But this whole idea that Corinne Jean-Air is now going in front after not giving a press briefing in forever, by the way. One of the first things she does is talk about these cheap fake videos. Well, they call them cheap fake videos because they can't call them deep fakes, because deep fakes is when AI is at play. So what they're saying is they're framed differently. They're deceptively edited. The only ones that have been deceptively edited that I have seen have been the people trying to say, well, that didn't actually happen. And then they conveniently zoom out 1,000,000 miles during the part where he's grabbing Joe Biden by the arm and leading him off stage. Now, here's the buried lead in all of this. And this is the thing that I can't seem to make anybody else understand. The buried lead isn't the fact that he got led off stage. Look, he's 80, about to be 81 years old. He's old. I understand, that you want to try to take care of somebody. The thing that I consider the buried lead here is because of all of the times that Barack Obama has witnessed him freeze on camera and everything else, because he's been watching all of these things. He has. So the fact that Barack Obama felt it necessary, even if it was just Biden being Biden and soaking in the moment, as all the left wants to say, the fact that Barack Obama, after it went on for close to a minute, maybe a little bit longer, finally just said, "Hey, bro, let's focus back over here. We're done. Let's move on." The fact that he felt it necessary to do that is one of two things. Either they have given up all hope on this man being able to run and complete another 4 years, and they are just trying to blatantly show him for the doddering fool that he is, which is one of the arguments as to why Barack Obama would have done that. But the other one is, it could be that he was afraid if he didn't do it, that it was going to turn into one of those awkward moments with hundreds of cell phones, and that it would have been even worse than what it has been turned into. Now, you can say, because that's the whole thing with the one that happened at the G7. Well, he was just trying to, recognize the other guy that you couldn't see off camera. Well, that's fine. But after you gave the thumbs up and after you stood there for a second and the other guy that you were trying to acknowledge his existence didn't acknowledge yours, probably would have been a good time to rejoin the rest of the group. Not leave it to the point where the prime minister of Italy had to do us a solid and drag you back in like a sheepdog herding sheep, because that's exactly what's happening. This man can't even go to his motorcade anymore without having people acting as his actual physical handlers. But they want you convinced that he can do this job for another 4 years. I have a different concern. Let's just be honest. If this man is too decrepit and senile to stand trial for a crime that he committed while he was a senator, then how the hell can he have access to the nuclear football coach? Let's just be real. How can that be a thing? How can he be too inept to be charged with a crime, but he's not too inept to run the country? And Zelda just put in one of the chats, Pasta Country is now trying to prep up the USA. We're screwed. I edited it a little bit, but she's not wrong. I mean, when you have to have foreign leaders helping your leader look less retarded, that's a problem. This is where we are in America, ladies and gentlemen. Whether we want to admit that we're there or not, this is where we are. We now have the geriatric battle of the decade, round 2, about to kick off in a few months. Now, I have told everybody up front that I really, 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 really wanted DeSantis. I really did. That was my guy. That's the one that I wanted. I think he would have done great things for the country. I think he has a lot of the same qualities as Trump without the baggage. But I also, unlike everyone else who has said this before, I also don't believe that I honestly don't believe that if Donald Trump had dropped out of the race, that they still wouldn't have come after him. And I've explained this on other shows, but I'm gonna go into it on this for a second here. I think they would have come after him anyway. And this goes back to something that I've been saying for a long time. He was not supposed to win. It really is that simple. He was not supposed to win. At some point, he was supposed to take it on the chin. This is one of the reasons why they are coming after him as hard as they are, is because he was not supposed to win. Now, the scariest thing about that, when you stop and think about it, is, and if you don't believe what I'm saying, or you think that I'm wrong, I need you to be aware of one thing that you may not be aware of. Hillary Clinton spends almost as much time at the White House as Barack Obama does. Joe Biden has a cabal of people behind him that are getting all of their wet dreams and wish lists fulfilled while they're using him as the mouthpiece to do it. And they are having him act as a dictator while telling everybody else that if Donald Trump gets reelected, he's actually going to be the dictator. Now, I need you guys to understand something, even with this most recent thing, right? So let's take a look at this whole executive order for the border, that was supposed to fix everything. Nothing's been fixed. Then he's like, I'm doing something that Republicans refuse to do, but I'm doing it by executive order because I can't get it done any other way. Well, okay, great. That's fine. That's awesome. If that's what you want to say that you're doing, then whatever. Donald Trump had to do his by fiat. So why should you be any different? But the problem with that is when you start looking at a president who is using executive order instead of running things through Congress, then that starts, kind of starts giving the flavor of a dictator, just a little bit. So then, as if that wasn't enough, now today, was it today or yesterday? I've been sick, so everything's kind of running together for me. But so he announces that he's, going to extend amnesty to over 500,000 illegal migrants that are here, that have married American citizens, etc., and built families, instead of making them follow the actual process. The problem is he's pissing off a lot of people that naturalize the right way. So I don't think this is going to work the way that he thinks it's going to. The other thing is, for everybody that's like, oh my God, Donald Trump is being such a racist about all these things. No, he's really not. And you know how I know he's not? Most of the Hispanic people that have either come here legally or are already here want the door shut behind them too. So that's something that people haven't really taken into account yet. If you watch MSDNC, then you're getting a completely different number and the wrong one. Because according to MSDNC, there's only about 36% of Hispanic Americans that want the border to be closed. Problem is that number is actually 51%. So just accounting for that gap, assuming that half of that gap votes for Donald Trump because he's saying he's going to actually do something about the border. That is a huge swing for Donald Trump. Now you take into account all of the other people of color in places like Chicago and New York City that have had to put up with what the border towns in this country have had to put up with for forever, and they're already tired of it. And you've got massive movements of people of color that are getting out movements to turn Chicago red, try to turn New York City red. Now, is that going to happen? I don't know. But I'm going to be completely honest, and I've been saying this a lot lately too. Don't believe the polls. I don't care how positive they are. I don't care how negative they are. Don't believe the polls. I don't care if you live in a safe state like Oklahoma or Alabama. If you want somebody besides Joe Biden, you need to go vote. If you don't, then stay home. Because the thing about it is, for this to once and for all finally be shut up, two things has to happen. Or two things have to happen. Sorry, that was bad grammar. But two things have to happen. One, he has to win the Electoral College by an overwhelming number, which there's a good chance he might do, because despite what everybody thinks, I don't think the left can cheat the way they did in 2020. I don't think they're going to be able to, because too many people have wised up to it now. If you don't believe me, you can just go check out 538.com. That man, Nate Silver, is by no means a conservative. And even he's like, there's way too many shady things that happened in 2020. So everybody's figuring it out. Now, the problem with everybody figuring that out is everybody awake enough to care? That's going to be a question for another day. I don't really know the answer to that question. I guess we'll know in November. But the other thing is that, one, even if you're in a safe state, go vote. If you have access to early voting or mail-in voting, then use it. Don't be afraid of it anymore. Look, until they outlaw it, we're screwed. We have to use it. Now, I don't understand why we're one of the only Western cultures left that has mail-in voting and all the early voting and everything else, because everybody else has gotten away from it because they have found rampant cheating. The problem is they keep trying to tell us there is no cheating. Well, we now know there is, because if you watch Fox News, Jesse Waters has talked about a lady that has now, been found to have stuffed ballots multiple times, who is a Democrat and is actually a high-ranking Democratic official in her town. And he's tried to have his little man about town talk to her more than once, and she's nearly run him over last time. So the thing about it is, does it happen in the way that everybody tries to portray that it does? I don't really know. But this is one thing that I've tried to tell everybody over and over and over again. We do not have national elections. We have regional elections with national consequences. So you really only need to put your finger on the scales in certain cities, in certain states, to swing and change everything. And that's what they did in 2020. Whether anybody wants to admit it to you or not, that is exactly what happened. I was live on the air covering the election with an entire KLRN radio panel, which we will be doing again this year, by the way. Watching the results, we shut everything down at just after midnight Eastern, because that's when all the reports started coming in that counting was being stopped in this district and counting was being stopped in this district because they were having technical issues. And then they were like, we plan on having counting resumed before 9 a.m. Should have results in those areas sometime later tomorrow. And then at that time, because we were still in the middle of COVID and everything else, I was, still doing a morning show. Or no, actually, yeah, in 2020 we were. Sorry, forgot what time frame we were talking about. But yeah, in 2020 we were still doing a morning show at that time, because what started as 2 weeks to slow the spread became 4 years. And even though I had a job where they swore at the time that we would never be able to work from home, they figured out how to let us work from home. So I was doing a morning show because it started as a joke. Stacy and I did a show called Kung Flu Spew for like 2 weeks, because I worked for University of Oklahoma at the time for their Center of Public Management, and I was one of the middle management folks for one of their call center divisions. And we were told, because of the information that we had access to, et cetera, that would never be, for security reason, a job that we would be able to do from home. And then COVID hit and they sent everybody home. So they figured out how to make it happen. So, but we were only told, hey, you're going to get to do this for 2 weeks. We're going to send you home with a laptop. You're going to have a hotspot, all the things that you need to be able to do your job. You're still going to be able to do it. You're just going to do it from your house. Like, okay, cool. So I live, well, before they moved the office, I lived 45 minutes away by car. And that's on a good day. So I didn't want to get used to being able to roll out of bed at 8 o'clock, grab a cup of coffee, get logged in like 10 minutes early, and then get everything set up for my day because, I worked 8:30 to 5. So I was like, hey, let's do a morning show. So I still have to get up at the same time. So this is only going to last for like 2 weeks. And then it was a month later and then 2 months later. But the reason I bring all this up is because we watched all of the shenanigans happen, and then we shut everything down because they're like, well, we're obviously not going to have any results until sometime tomorrow afternoon. And then I got up at 4 my time to start prepping because we were going on the air from 7 to 9 Eastern. I live in God's time zone, so that's 6 to 8 in the only time zone that really matters. Sorry, I said what I said. So I would normally get up about 2 hours before because, radio is a lot like college. For every hour you spend on the air, you need to do at least 2 to 3 hours of prep work, kind of like for every hour you spend in the class, you're usually doing 2 or 3 hours of work that nobody knows about. Same thing with radio. So I was getting up, prepping things, pulling up articles. Next thing I know, I start hearing all these reports about how, between 3 and 5 a.m. Eastern time, all of these ballots started showing up. And the next thing you know, it's, Trump was leading heavily and now he's behind. And it's kind of like the whole, guilty on all 34 counts thing. They didn't even try not to make it obvious, and still half the country missed it. This is what floors me. That people have been trained to not even believe the things that they can see and hear with their own eyes and ears because it goes against the narrative that they choose. And this is coming from somebody who, again, did not want the rematch between the cauliflower in chief and Lord Spraytan, but that's where we are. It's not what I wanted. It's not what I wanted for the country. I wanted all of this to be able to be put behind us. But here we are, because there was a very vocal group of people within the Republican Party that wanted a rematch because they know we didn't really lose the first time. Now, I won't go that far because the election results were certified. Once that happened, he lost. It doesn't matter how they got there. Was it fair? I don't think it was, because you can look at the numbers and you can look at the statistics. For about 3 hours, there was 100% increase for votes for Joe Biden in all the areas that it mattered. That is statistically impossible. It's not just improbable, it's impossible. Then you start looking into those particular ballots that started magically showing up, as what I started calling through the ballot fairy method. And most of them were top of the ticket only. They didn't vote for anything else. No state questions, no senators, no nothing. Just Joe Biden for president, rest of the ballot blank. Now, where I'm from, that would get your ballot thrown out. I'm just saying. So I was kind of surprised that so many places don't have that, because that, to me, that's really good sign that somebody's being shady. I'll get out. I know we have a disclaimer, but I'm still trying to behave. But yeah. Now, one of the reason I'm bringing this up tonight is because one of the things, because I put out a poll earlier today. One of the things that I keep seeing over and over and over again is I don't think, because I put out the poll, what is Biden's next gig when he gets retired in November? And there were a bunch of choices. It's still running, so I probably will bring it up this Sunday, because I will still be doing a Rails again on Sunday, because I need to go back through and figure out which meme I consider the winner for the thing that I put out with Joe Biden bumping foreheads with the Pope, which was the weirdest thing ever do, by the way. That's like it. That's that. I'm not even Catholic, and I know that's a no-no. I'm just saying. So yeah, that was really weird. But not only that, but at the same time, see, he did it to me. Joe Biden did it to me. I lost my train of thought because I started picturing that weird ass moment where he's like bumping foreheads with the Pope, and I'm like, who the hell even? Dude, I'm not even Catholic, and I know you're not supposed to do that. So anyway, I'm going to move on to something else and then come back to what I was saying, because in a second, my brain will kick back in, and I'll remember what else I was going to talk about. But so the other thing that I wanted to talk about tonight, and then believe it or not, we're already into like right about wrap time in about 20 minutes, because I got to make time to get things set up for Ordy and Foo. which is coming up next, by the way. FUBAR, One Nation Under Foo, right here live on KLRN Radio. I am their producer, so I will be a lot more quiet during that one. For those of you who are like, oh my God, why did this guy never shut up? Trust me, occasionally I do. It's rare. Usually it involves me producing or me not having a voice, which is why I may sound a little bit different than I normally do, because I'm still recovering from whatever the hell hit me this weekend, and hit me out of the middle of nowhere. I was fine Friday night, and Saturday I was just tired and slept half the day, slept all night, and then Sunday went to church, went to lunch, came home, was like, not feeling that great. I'm going to go ahead and take a nap. Woke up from my nap and felt like I was dying, and I haven't felt right ever since. Getting a little bit better. Honestly, I think the combination of all the things that I take probably helps, because, balance of nature is a great thing. Not a sponsor, but if you're looking for ways to improve your nutrition, and don't like having to spend a boatload of money on fruits and vegetables, I do recommend them. They work really well. I've noticed when I'm sick, if I take them at night instead of taking them during the day, I wake up and feel amazing. Probably because my body puts it all to work while I'm sleeping. Because that's the other thing nobody tells you when you're a workaholic like me. You do occasionally need to sleep, because that's when your body does repair work. But yeah, Balance of Nature, do recommend them. Also, my friends Dubby that we talked about earlier. Also, just turned 51. Ashwagandha is an amazing thing. I'm just saying. All right. Anyway, so I think that's enough free stuff being given out for people. But anyway, so let's see. We've already talked about the cheap fakes, which, in the words of my good friend, Two Cynic Al, otherwise known as Al here on KLRN Radio, Alan Ray, who does a show on Sunday night with Alan Ray. In the words of Alan Ray, who tagged her in this today, and I'm so proud of him for doing it. Hey, press sec, your mom's a cheap fake. I'm just saying. See, you have to understand, these are people that I've known for forever, and they are amazing people, and each of them has their own little niche, but watching them turn into just completely outspoken people has been kind of amazing to me. The one, and I don't give this man nearly enough credit. He keeps everything running on the website. He keeps the chat running. Lately, even because Preaker's been gay, I said what I said. He makes sure that the feed updates, etc., because it's not manually doing it anymore, and that's Jeff, aka Stoner Brewing Co. And he is another one who, I mean, his journey with KLR Radio has been really interesting. Speaking of FUBAR, he actually started as their swear counter. Basically, they used to have a contest, and the funny thing is, for a while, because it just became a thing, they would pick a charity, and then whoever had the most swear words by the end of the month in the swear jar had to donate. I think it was like $1 per swear word to whatever charity they picked for the month. That was probably one of the coolest things we've ever done on KLRN Radio. But he was their swear counter. He was the official tally guy. And then I convinced him that, he should do podcast. And at first he was only wanting to do pre-record. Now he does some pretty data intensive podcasting. So I really wasn't that. I was like, you know what, if pre-record works for you and that's what you want to do, that's great. I've tried pre-recorded podcast. Unless it's like doing a guest segment with somebody and they just absolutely cannot do live, I hate pre-recorded podcasts. I really do. The energy just seems completely different. I don't care if I've got one person listening, or, when I was actually syndicated it out on a few radio stations and figured out that there were hundreds of thousands of people that were listening to me every day. It doesn't matter to me whether it's one person, whether it's 100,000. Just knowing people are listening changes your entire dynamic for me about how you do these things. Not to mention, doing it live adds a dimension of pressure that you're never going to understand until you do something live, because any number of things can go wrong. And it also makes doing things like this really easy now that I'm on my 16th year of live broadcasting, because I'm really good at ad libs. I've actually been considering putting a stand-up routine together again because of how much better I've gotten at ad libs. Because I used to do that, dabble in it back in the day. I have good friends who do it, like Michael Loftus. I produce his podcast. If you guys have not checked that out yet, you should go check that out at loftusparty.com. Usually drops on Tuesdays, so it's been out for a little bit now. And I'm the executive producer of that one. I also have a good friend who used to be a member of the crew here on KLRNRadio at Game On JD, who used to do 2 shows a week with Stacey Lennox, my co-host for whatever. They did Game On, and then on Sundays they had one of the coolest, most chill shows ever. And we are about to launch a 24/7, 365 stream again. So you guys will probably get to hear some of this classic stuff that I'm talking about because we still have it in our library. But yeah, they did a really cool laid back show on Sunday mornings as kind of a brunch time frame show called Bloody Marys and Broadsheets. It was probably the coolest thing I have ever heard, and that is coming from somebody who's done this for a very, very long time. But he was also a stand-up comic, and his timing is impeccable. If you're not following him on social media, I would probably recommend that you do. He's not as active as he used to be, and he's not with us anymore. So it's not. It's. I'm not pimping him for any specific reason other than he's absolutely amazing person. He's the reason I have an addiction to scotch now. If I'm being completely honest, I grew up in Oklahoma, which is where I'm at. Other than, I spent some time in the Seattle area, and then eventually we moved to Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, when my stepdad retired. But other than that, I've been in Oklahoma. So for us, it's always more bourbon. And the most expensive thing I'd ever really drank before CPAC in 2016 was Jack Daniels. So he's like, "Hey, have you ever tried scotch?" I'm like, "No." Like, not really. I said, I've had people that have told me about it, but I'm usually a bourbon guy. If I'm not drinking bourbon, I'm usually drinking rum. So next thing I know, he's charging a tumbler full of 12-year Macallan to the room, gets 2 of them, is like, "Here, try this." Yeah, I've drank it ever since. One of these days, I'm gonna pony up for the good stuff. I really am. But even though I'm not poor, but I also I'm not somebody that likes the idea of spending $400 and $500 on a bottle of alcohol. I will say one of my cousins for my 50th birthday bought me a $300 bottle of scotch that was absolutely amazing. So, anyway, if you're listening, thank you, cousin. I just finished the last little bit of it not too long ago. But yeah, anyway, I don't know how I got to talking about scotch and stuff, but anyway, so here we are. The stream of consciousness radio. This is what happens when I haven't done a show all week. All right, so back to Mr. Biden. So the guy who keeps telling us that Donald Trump is going to be the biggest dictator that ever dictated in America if he gets reelected is doing everything to prove to you that he's the actual dictator. Hey, I resemble that. Anyway, Zelda's heckling me in the chat. She's like, "Oh, got an old brain." Yeah, I am old. I just turned 51. Anyway, but yeah, so he's doing everything he can to prove to everybody that he's the dictator, but half the country either doesn't want to see it or can't see it. And then you've got Harry Sisson, who, again, I mentioned last hour. If there was ever a human embodiment of a chihuahua, it would be Harry Sisson. Because the dude is doing everything that he can to make Donald Trump seem like he's the absolutely inept one. And I'm not necessarily arguing with him. I will say that Joe Biden is a hell of a lot more inept than Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is starting to show some age-related issues, which is, again, why I didn't really want to have the rematch between the cauliflower in chief and Lord Spraytan. But here we are. Now, the reason I say all of this, and I've been saying this everywhere as often as I can, and I think I've already said it on this show, but I'm going to say it one more time because we're getting ready to wrap things up anyway. Don't believe the polls. I don't care how good the numbers look for our side. Don't believe the polls. Go vote. Vote early. And in the words of the Democrats, vote early and vote often. Yes, I said what I said. I don't care anymore. The thing about it is we have to get rid of this whole Republicans are going to win by the Marquis of Queensberry rules and all these things that we try to say, well, it doesn't matter if we win as long as we play fair. That's great until you're in a fight for your life, and we're pretty much there. I know this is something that gets said every election cycle, but if you've been looking at the same numbers that I've been looking at, these people are dangerously close to destroying the middle class. As a matter of fact, if Joe Biden gets another 4 years with either complete control or even partial control of Congress, then by the end of his second term, the middle class will be non-existent. Nobody wants to talk to you about the reasons why they're doing that, though. And they should, because there is a specific reason why they're doing the things that they're doing. There's a specific reason why the left is destroying every institution that we hold dear, whether it's governmental institution, whether it's institutions that have been established throughout history, whether it's common cultural institutions like our favorite movies, our favorite TV shows. There's a reason they're deconstructing all of these things and remaking them in their image, because they don't want you or me to have a common reference point anymore. That's why they're doing everything they can to make the NFL not the NFL. That's why they're doing everything they can to make NASCAR not NASCAR. That's why Disney has pretty much single-handedly destroyed franchises like Star Wars. It's for two reasons, and we talked about this a little bit last hour. It's because, one, they want recognition above everything. Bottom line doesn't matter to them anymore. Whether they get paid or not doesn't matter to them anymore. They want to show to people that they're recognizing them for who they are, even though what they're recognizing is actually mental illness. And I'm going to say that until the day that I die. I don't care what you think. I don't care what equipment you wish you had between your legs. Do not expect me to go along with it just to make you feel better. And if that seems hateful to you, then I don't really know what to tell you. How is Biden a dictator? So I'm getting a question from the YouTube channel. How much time you got? How is Biden a dictator? Well, let's see. He's done an in-run around SCOTUS regarding the student debt relief because they said he couldn't do it. He's doing it anyway. He has weaponized the entire Department of Justice to go after people that he disagrees with. And if you don't believe me, then I need you to look up the guy who did the opening arguments for the New York trial, because he was the number 3 in DOJ before he took that gig. Those are just two reasons. What else you got? All right. Anyway, so then back to the regularly scheduled program. Good Lord, getting hecklers on a radio show. I thought that only happened in comedy routines. Oh no, it's a real question. It's from YouTube. I'll show you later. But those are just two of the most common reasons that Joe Biden is behaving like a dictator. Now let's talk about the fact that he just granted mass amnesty, which he can't constitutionally do. So that's number 3. And that's just in the last couple of months. Let's talk about unilaterally deciding to throw the border open and then saying, well, I can't do anything about it till Congress gives me more power, even though he has everything he needs he hasn't weaponized anything. Are you serious right now? Why are you even listening to this show? Because you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, if you're going to come onto my show and start talking smack, then I'll spend the last 10 minutes of my show owning you if it's really what you want. How is he not weaponized anything? Do you realize what the charges in New York were? They were 34 expired misdemeanors that had outlasted the statute of limitations, that were upjumped into felony charges by a crazy-ass district attorney who used a federal felony that has still not been disclosed. I don't know what I'm talking about. That's great. I don't know what I'm talking about. You're full of crap. You don't know what you're talking about. Trump didn't do anything. You do realize that this is a federal charge. The FEC said no. The federal prosecutor said no. This is something that Alvin Bragg never even had jurisdiction over. So, yes, I do know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for a very, very, very long time. But if you want to keep feeding quarters into the private punching machine, I got 9 minutes left. What else you got? I'm in the MAGA echo chamber. I am pretty sure you misspelled Democrat echo chamber because you have no clue what you're talking about. None. You don't listen to anything other than your side. And when you do find somebody that isn't on your side, you try to do this because you're looking for recognition and you think you know something that I don't. You don't. You can pretend you do. That's fine. I will play along. You can be my chew toy for the next 8 minutes. I don't really care. But no, I'm not in an echo chamber. I didn't even want Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. How long have you been tuned in? Because I've said that 3 times on this hour alone. So no, I'm not in an echo chamber. The party of projection. That's not a very good affirmation, considering I'm pretty sure you were looking in a mirror when you decided to say that. We're projecting. That's rich. I just outlined to you 4 separate ways that Joe Biden himself has been acting like a dictator while he's trying to tell everybody that Donald Trump's going to be the biggest dictator ever. But we're the ones that are projecting. How about him swearing up and down and screaming and yelling about how the rule of law must be respected, but he's ignoring the Supreme Court? How about that one? What you got for that one, Miss Party of Projection? Mr. whatever the hell you were, I don't even know. All right. Anyway, so enough of that. We are just about out of time anyway, and I'm bored with the chew toy. So don't forget, coming up here in just a minute, we do have the Foo Bar Show with the Ordnance Packard and Miss Polita Bunny that is now back with us every 2 weeks right here live on KLRNRadio at 9 p.m. Eastern. Ordy and I will be your closing act at 10 p.m. Eastern for the Brick and Ordy Show. And as for everything else, closing thoughts, again, as I've been telling you guys for a while, don't listen to the polls. But as far as all of the media types trying to say, you know, all of this is cheap, fake BS, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. We don't need any of that. Joe Biden has been deemed unfit for trial. So people need to remember that. All right. So we're going to go ahead and shut everything down just so I can make sure that I do make time for the folks coming on behind me, because it'll take a second to get everything changed over, which is another reason why we went commercial free, because back-to-back is becoming a little more complicated now that we're streaming everywhere. But we're going to go out same way we went and same way we came in. You guys enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. For those of you that are wanting to hang out, then if you'll hang out with me here in just a minute, everything else will get started up. And anyway. Yeah, it's because you're listening on YouTube, which we barely use. If you'd bother to look anywhere else, you would actually find that we get several thousand listens a week. But sure, keep screaming and yelling. You're good. Yeah, no, anyway, I'm done with you. All right. I'm the one full of shit. That's Rich. All right. Have a great night. You guys hanging out in the chat. Get ready to F5 in just a minute. We're going to get things set up for the next crew. So you guys have been listening to the Rick Robinson Show, not the America Off the Rails Show, because I forgot what show I'm doing. That'll be back tomorrow, as long as my voice holds out. 3 p.m., 5 p.m. Eastern, usually every Monday through Friday, except I've been out sick this week. And then up next, Foo Bar, One Nation Under Foo. And then after that, Rick and Ordy. Enjoy the rest of your Chat Lives Matter night, except for you heckler. Nobody cares. Bye, everybody.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.